If you're taking the IELTS exam in 2024, you've come to the right place. Because in this video, I'm going to list 10 things you should do to ensure you get a high score on your test this year. This list has been written to reflect the latest updates surrounding the IELTS exam for 2024, so you'll want to stick around to the end of this video to make sure you're getting the most accurate information. Now, the first 3 tips on this list are all related. I'll explain why later. But here's tip number 1, understand the tasks. This tip is something we tell our students every year because it's essential if you're aiming for a high score. And in 2024, there's some good news. The good news is that the task types have not changed. This means all the videos you'll find on our channel, old and new, will help you prepare properly before test day. And our IELTS courses at E2 are always updated to reflect new changes to the test. But let's just have a look at these tasks again because I want to explain why it's essential to understand them. Understanding the IELTS tasks is important because it means on test day, you'll know exactly what the task wants you to do, so you won't need to spend precious time figuring it all out while the clock is ticking down. For example, here's a simplified true, false, not given question from the reading section. If you've never taken the test before, it might take you a little bit of time to get your head around what the question is asking for. It's also worth remembering that there's another task type that's similar, known as yes, no, not given, which is all about identifying views or opinions rather than facts. On test day, you'll need to remember how these question types differ. While we're looking at this question, let's try and answer it. If you want, you can pause the video now and try it yourself. After all, you'll need lots of practice if you want to pass IELTS in 2024. So, let's have a look at the answers for this task. First, question 8. Scurvy is a mild condition caused by a lack of vitamin C. The text says that scurvy is a severe vitamin deficiency. Vitamin C deficiency means the same as a lack of vitamin C. We have a parallel expression, but look carefully. Are severe and mild synonyms? No, they're opposites. The statement in the question contradicts the text, so the answer is false. Let's look at the next question, number 9. Animal metabolisms can produce vitamin C. Does the text agree with the statement? Well, not exactly. The text says that, unlike most other animals, humans can't make vitamin C within their own bodies. Let's think about what is implied by that statement. Humans can't make vitamin C, which is unlike other animals. That implies that animals can make vitamin C with their bodies. Another way to describe that is to say that animal metabolisms can make vitamin C. Metabolism means the chemical processes which take place within a living being. Humans can't manufacture vitamin C chemically in their bodies, but most animals can. Therefore, the two statements agree and the answer to question 9 is true. Question 10. The statement says, limes and lemons are a very good source of vitamin C. Now, you might know from your general knowledge that citrus fruits such as limes and lemons are good sources of vitamin C. However, it doesn't say this in the text. That information is not given. We know it to be a true fact, but it is not stated in the text, so the answer is not given. This is something we have to be careful with. Use only information from the passage. Question 11 states that a poor diet always causes scurvy. In the text, it says, people who don't eat well aren't necessarily at a higher risk for scurvy. We can safely say that a poor diet has the same meaning as people who don't eat well. That is quite clear. But what does aren't necessarily at a higher risk mean? Does it mean the same as always causes? No. It means it sometimes causes scurvy, but not necessarily always. So the statement in question 11 contradicts the information in the text, so the answer here is false. So hopefully, you can see how important it is to be familiar and comfortable with the IELTS task types so you can work through questions like this one although much more difficult on test day. It's especially important for some of the other reading and listening tasks like summary completion, where the instructions will ask you to do very specific things. For example, instructions like write no more than one word and or a number, or write no more than 2 words and or a number, or choose no more than one word, or choose no more than 2 words. As you can see, the instructions appear similar, but they each mean something different, so you need to pay attention. Let's move on to the next tip in the list. This one is understand the scoring. There are 2 types of scoring that are worth learning. The first is overall scoring. This is relevant for the listening and reading section. You can see in these 2 tables here how the marks in each section correlate to a band score. Knowing these numbers can be helpful when you complete mock tests, as it can work as a guide to help you determine your own band score. Now, the next type of scoring is probably more important. You can think of it as task scoring. This is all about the criteria for both the speaking and writing section. It's essential that you read through these criteria to learn how you're scored, so you can use the information to improve your responses. We won't go through the criteria in this video, but feel free to watch our other videos on the speaking and writing sections. However, I should mention that there were some important changes made to the criteria last year. In the writing criteria, they added in bold text that used to be for examiners' eyes only. The bolded text indicates how examiners can restrict your score in certain criteria. If you're interested, we made a video all about it. But for now, let's move on to the third tip. This third tip is understand the strategies. Once you've learned how the test works, you need a good strategy for each task. For example, here's a matching question from the listening section. Here's the strategy for this task. Step 1, read the instructions. It is important to know if you can use a letter more than once. In questions where there are more than enough options, you can't use a letter more than once, so you can eliminate each letter after you have used it. This helps to make the later choices easier. Step 2, read the questions. Read them several times to internalize the vocabulary. Step 3, underline or highlight the key words. This further focuses you on the information that you need to listen out for. Here, you can see the keywords for this task. Step 4, think of synonyms and parallel expressions. Some students like to write down other ways of expressing the keywords. This helps you to prepare for the information in whatever form it's delivered. Finally, step 5, listen while looking. Maximize your potential by focusing on the key words in the questions while listening out for information that matches. The words will most likely be different, but the meaning will be the same. This skill needs to be practiced. Now, this was just the strategy for one task. Remember that there are 5 more task types in the listening section. We've got a strategy for every task in the IELTS exam, which you can find on our IELTS platform at e2testprep.com. Sign up today. So, that's the first 3 tips. You might have noticed how they're all related. It's because they're all about understanding the test. Understanding the test, how you're scored, and how to answer the questions effectively are the fundamentals of IELTS preparation, so you'll need to do all 3 if you want to pass in 2024. Let's move on to the next few tips. The fourth is this: practice with difficult questions. Once you understand how the test works and have learned strategies to answer the questions, the next thing to do is practice. But for this tip, we recommend specifically practicing the most challenging tasks. This will ensure you're able to confidently answer all questions in the test, not just the easy ones. At the start of this year, we released an hour-long video covering what we thought were the hardest questions in the IELTS exam. If you haven't seen it already, I definitely recommend getting to it before test day. It's a great practice resource. Let's now have a look at the 5th tip. This 5th tip is identify your individual weaknesses. I mentioned in the last tip that we made a video on what we thought were the hardest tasks in the IELTS exam. But for you, the hardest tasks might be completely different. This is why you need to identify your own individual weaknesses. Learning which sections you struggle with will help you maximize your study time. There's a few ways you can identify both your strengths and weaknesses. The first are mock tests. Taking an IELTS mock test is a great way to start your preparation, as you'll be able to quickly learn which sections to improve. Just make sure to be strategic with how you choose to schedule your mock tests. Use them as milestones rather than doing multiple tests in one go. The second tool for locating weaknesses is practice questions. Pretty obvious, right? If you're getting a lot of questions incorrect, you'll need to practice more. Now, another tool we have is brand new. We just released it late last year. It's called the Score Calculator. The Score Calculator is great if you haven't started your IELTS preparation. It's a 15-minute test that grades your English proficiency and gives you a band score range. It will tell you which of your English skills need the most work. Using this score calculator doesn't cost anything, so feel free to get access by clicking the link in the description or searching up E2 Score Calculator online. Now, the last tool for identifying your weaknesses is so important. It's actually tip number 6. This tip is get feedback. Getting feedback from an expert is necessary because your responses to writing and speaking won't just be correct or incorrect. As I mentioned, you're graded based on the criteria, so you'll need someone who is familiar with the band descriptors so they can identify mistakes in your essays and speech. As always, you can get feedback from us by submitting your writing or taking a speaking test at e2testprep.com. Let's look at tip number 7. This one is based on a new development for 2024. It is, don't forget the one skill retake. The IELTS one skill retake was introduced last year. It gives you the opportunity to attempt one section of the test again if you don't succeed in reaching your desired score. For example, if you're aiming for a band 7.5 in the writing test, but only manage to score a band 7, you have a 60-day window after your test in which you can book a one skill retake. It's cheaper than taking the full test again, so if it's available at your local test center, consider doing the one skill retake if you don't get the score you need on the first attempt. Now, tip number 8 is a general hint for the IELTS test. It is learn synonyms and parallel expressions. This tip is quite broad, but I'll show you how it applies very specifically to nearly every task in the IELTS exam. Here's an example of a multiple choice reading question. Feel free to pause the video now and answer it yourself because I'm going to show you how to answer this question with the help of synonymous phrases. Okay, so in this question, you can see it says, what is the biggest risk of traveling to Mars? The synonymous phrase for biggest risk can be found here, most perilous. So let's read around here to see if it gives us the answer. It says, what makes traveling to Mars most perilous is being subjected to excessive radiation caused by the sun's fast-moving particles. We can see this corresponds with answer option B, which says, receiving too much particle radiation from the sun. Here, you might have noticed the synonymous phrases excessive radiation and too much radiation, in addition to from the sun and caused by the sun. A lot of synonyms here. And you might remember when we looked at that simplified true, false, not given question earlier, the task was also designed to test your knowledge of synonyms. For example, question 8, scurvy is a mild condition caused by a lack of vitamin C. If you can remember, vitamin C deficiency means the same as a lack of vitamin C. So they're parallel expressions. However, severe and mild here are opposites. So in this case, the question was testing your ability to recognize that they weren't synonymous phrases. Are you starting to see how important synonyms are? Synonyms are even relevant in the other sections, whether it's using them to rewrite the prompt for writing task 2 or having a broad lexical range in the speaking test. Whatever section or task of the IELTS it is, having a good knowledge of synonyms and parallel expressions is essential. Now, tip number 9, beware of distractors. Distractors are answer options that are designed to be very tempting, but they're wrong. There are 4 types of distractors. The first type of distractors are similar sounding words. For example, Austria or Australia sound similar. In the listening test, you need to listen carefully to make sure you're getting it right. The second type of distractor is already mentioned words. This is when an answer option appears in the text or audio, but is incorrect based on what the text or speaker says after. The third type of distractor is synonyms. Yes, even though many tasks test your understanding of synonyms, they sometimes use them to trick you into choosing the incorrect answer. For example, in that true-false not given question, we saw that lack of and deficiency meant the same thing, but the extra information in the text and answer options meant that those statements contradicted each other. Now, the last type of distractors are negatives. For example, when something is negated using the word not or never or avoid. Sometimes words will have prefixes that negate the meaning of the word, such as deregulate, disassemble, or insignificant. So, beware of distractors. If you practice a lot, you'll be used to identifying and avoiding them on test day. Time for the final tip. Tip number 10 is stay tuned to E2. 2024 has just started and we'll be releasing a huge amount of useful content to help you prepare properly for IELTS. You can start by subscribing to our YouTube channel, E2 IELTS. We're always releasing videos that'll help you improve your test skills. We also have IELTS live classes running every day on E2 Test Prep. If you're unable to attend, we have a recorded class library on the platform you can use to catch up. In addition, we have our podcast, Everyday English with E2, which is a great resource for English skill building and general listening practice. And of course, you're welcome to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our own E2 blog. There, we'll be sure to update you on any test changes that occur throughout the year. And that's it. That was 10 tips to help you pass IELTS in 2024. Here they all are. I hope you found them helpful. Thanks for watching and good luck with passing your IELTS exam. See ya!